If you're looking for something to play in the background, while you unwind, journal, study, or drift off to sleep, this is for you. Letters from the Past is a quiet space, a moment to slow down. In each episode, we read letters written long ago, by real people, or in some cases, imagined voices from real moments in history. So take a deep breath, and let these words from the past keep you company. They boarded with hope in their hearts, some escaping, others exploring, all unaware of what lay ahead. Tonight, we journey back to April 1912, aboard the RMS Titanic. Through letters and diary entries, we hear the quiet voices of passengers and crew. Before the iceberg, from farewell notes and journal entries, to observations, mid-voyage, and memories after the disaster. These are their final thoughts, captured in their own words. Close your eyes, settle in, let the ocean carry you through stories once nearly lost to time. These are the letters from the Titanic. Before and at embarkation, April 10th, 1912. Juliette Laroche, writing to her father.
Dear Papa, I just learned that we will stop shortly. I am taking advantage of this fact to write you a few lines and give you news of us. We embarked on the Titanic last evening at 7 p.m. Oh, if only you could see this monster. Our tug looked like a fly next to it, and the interior could not be more comfortable. We have 2 bunks in our cabin, and the little girls are laying on a sofa turned into a bed. One at the head, the other at the foot, with a plank in the front so they will not fall. They are as well, if not better, than in their bed. The ship started up while we were dining, and we could not believe it was moving. It announcing breakfast. Those made Louise laugh. Right now, they are walking on the covered deck with Joseph. Louise is in her small car, and Simone is pushing her. They have already made acquaintances. Since Paris, we have traveled with a gentleman and a lady and their little boy, who is the same age as Louise. I believe they are the only French on board. So, we sit at the same table, and like this we can chat. Simone amused me earlier. She was playing with an English girl who had lent her a doll. My Simone was having great conversation, but the little girl could not understand anything. People are very nice on board. Yesterday, they were both running after a gentleman who had given them chocolates. This morning I tried to count all the children on the boat. In second class only, I am sure that there are more than 20. There is a small family with 4 children. They remind me of my uncles. The youngest looks very much like Fat Marcel. I am writing to you from the reading room, and an orchestra is playing next to me. 1 violin, 2 cellos, and 1 piano. I have not felt any seasickness yet. I hope it will remain thus. The ocean is beautiful, and the weather is magnificent. If only you could see how big the ship is. One can hardly find his or her cabin in the succession of hallways. I am going to stop because I think we will stop over soon, and I would not like to miss the mail service. Thank you again, dear Papa, for all your kindness. Please receive the best kisses from your daughter who loves you. Little Simone and Louise send big kisses to their good grandfather. After getting dressed this morning, they wanted to see you.
Colonel Archibald Gracie, writing to a friend.
It is a fine ship, but I shall await my journey's end before I pass judgment on her. The Oceanic is like an old friend, and while she does not possess the elaborate style and varied amusement of this big ship, still her seaworthy qualities and yacht-like appearance make me miss her. It was very kind of you to give me this kindly send-off. With best wishes for your success and happiness, Archibald Gracie.
William Henry Harrison, writing to his wife, Nancy.
My own dear Nancy, just a line before we get away from Queenstown to let you know how I am getting on. I had a most rotten journey to London from Manchester to Derby. I traveled 3rd class, 12 in the compartment. The train was absolutely packed, people standing up in the first and third class dining cart, who had to be cleared out into the corridors before they could have dinner. They told me that some people never sat down all the way, although I got into a first-class compartment at Derby, and had to have the seat with the arm turned back, which is not the most comfortable in the world. We were an hour late into St. Pancras, getting there at 11 o'clock. Those who travel much by rail these days are learning not to expect too much. I got down quite comfortably this morning and found the boss in good shape. We started in, and I had to work all the afternoon writing letters to post at Queenstown, and I expect another dose in the morning. We have 318 first-class passengers. Quite a small lot for this ship, but I haven't seen any of them yet, with being so busy. I have a seat at the purser's table again, and there is W.T. Stead, the great writer on social subjects there too, quite an old chap now. All the rest are men. There is of course very little difference between the Titanic and the Olympic, a few improvements. Thursday, we are just getting up to Queenstown and I have just a few minutes to finish off. I didn't get to bed till after midnight, getting things ready for Q-Town. If there are going to be any trips in future, I am fed up, and shall I avail of any opportunity he gives me to stay behind. And the amusing part of it is that people think it is a holiday. I thought I saw that solicitor from Warrington we met at Monneville last year, past the carriage at Liverpool, while you were there. Did you see him? I think the fool who sat by me was drunk. He rode nearly all the way with his head out of the window to call his hot head, I should think. I suppose Tom turned up all right in spite of your fears, and I hope you got home in good shape. I wonder if you have started that cleaning which worried you so much. You do seem to take some things seriously these days. Why is it? I am sure everything is the same than it has been for years. There, dear, I have told you all that has happened to me. Nothing interesting, as Nellie says. No, it only remains for me to say goodbye with best love, and lots of kisses for you all, and to remain your own faithful, devoted, Will.
Mary Kezia Roberts, writing to her husband.
My dear hubby, having just a moment to spare. They tell me these ships are not the value to us, as a smaller ship, to stay on them. The passage's length is awful, also stairs. I am taking it easier. I let the men make the beds if they will. I gave up all the maids. They are not worth the trouble. I don't feel at all up to the mark, so I am being careful. I am a little nervous of my side giving way. The lady had a full menu for breakfast. The distance to carry trays up and down stairs is cruel. Mrs. McLaren has 54 steps on her deck. It really is too bad. Mr. Latimer would not bring Mrs. Roach because she was ill so many times. He said we must be strong and healthy, so I dare not show the white feather. I know it is not wise. One is obliged to go ahead. There's not much mercy nowadays. I am paying a youth for shillings to carry all my soiled dishes away. I cannot do it hard enough to get through as it is. I wish someone would take up your patents, or I could get something to pay on land. I must get easier boots in New York. These are beggars in pinch. They've been a failure to me. Trust all's well. Glad there are few passengers going out. Gives me time to learn the run of the ship. Much love.
Thomas Cuppermud, writing to his family.
Dear Mother and all at home, I am now taking the opportunity of sending you a few lines about how we started from Southampton. We have been having very rough weather, but the ship is so steady you would hardly know it was moving, was it not for the throbbing of the engines. We are now nearing Queenstown. The ship is like a magnificent palace. The lounge and dining hall are very beautiful. We are having excellent food. I have made friends with a young English gentleman, and he is very nice indeed. The beds are very nice also, with plenty of covering to keep warm. Also, they have spring mattresses. Excuse writing as the ship is rolling a good bit. Now I must close, with love to all. I remain, your loving son, Tom.
Mid-Voyage Impressions, April 13th to 14th, 1912. Alexander Oskar Holverson, writing to his mother.
My dear mother, we had good weather while we were in London. It is quite green and nice in England now. This boat is a giant in size and fitted up like a palatial hotel. The food and music is excellent, and so far we have had very good weather. If all goes well, we will arrive in New York Wednesday a.m. I am sending you a postcard of the ship and also a book of postcards showing the inside. Tragically, Holverson did not survive the sinking. His letter was recovered with his body by the cable ship Mabel later that month. Still bearing seawater stains, the letter remains one of the most poignant personal artifacts from the disaster.
Esther Hart, writing to family.
My dear ones all, as you see, it is Sunday afternoon and we are resting in the library after luncheon. I was very bad all day yesterday. Could not eat or drink and sick all the while, but today I have got over it. This morning Eva and I went to church and she was so pleased they sang "O God our help in ages past." That is her hymn she sang so nicely. So she sang out loudly. She is very bonny. She has had a nice ball and a box of toffee and a photo of this ship bought her today. Everybody takes notice of her through the teddy bear. There is to be a concert on board tomorrow night in aid of the sailors' home, and she is going to sing. So am I well. The sailors say we have had a wonderful passage up to now. There has been no tempest, but God knows what it must be when there is one. This mighty expanse of water, no land in sight, and the ship rolling from side to side is being wonderful. Though they say this ship does not roll on account of its size. Anyhow, it rolls enough for me. I shall never forget it. It is very nice weather, but awfully windy and cold. They say we may get into New York Tuesday night, but we are really due early Wednesday morning. Shall write as soon as we get there. This letter won't leave the ship, but will remain and come back to England, where she is due again on the 26th. Where you see the letter all of a screw is where she rolls and shakes my arm. I am sending you on a menu to show you how we live. I shall be looking forward to a line from somebody to cheer me up a bit. I am always shutting my eyes and I see everything as I left it. I hope you are all quite well. Let this be an all-round letter, as I can't write properly to all till I can set my foot on shore again. We have met some nice people on board, Lucy, and so it has been nice so far. But oh, the long, long days and nights. It's the longest break I have ever spent in my life. I must close now with all our fondest love to all of you. From your loving S. Heaps of love and kisses to all from Eva.
During the disaster. Night of April 14th to 15th, 1912. Laura Mabel Francatelli, writing about the sinking.
It was about 11:45 when the crash came. I was just getting into bed. Madame and Sir Cosmo had been in bed some time. They were up on a deck, the top and I on E, the bottom deck for saloon passengers. It was a marvelous boat, like a floating huge hotel. In fact, I have not seen a hotel so grand. The collision shook me, as well as everything else in my room. I immediately slipped on my dressing gown and opened my door. Saw several people come out of their rooms in night attire. 2 gentlemen came up and spoke to me and told me not to be frightened, but go back to bed. We had run into an iceberg, but we were quite safe. However, the engines were making a terrific noise. I still stood there quite 20 minutes or more. Saw all the officers come down to inspect the damage, and then starting screwing down the iron doors outside my bedroom. Presently, a man came rushing up, saying all the hold and luggage and mail had gone. So I thought I shall fly on a few things, and go and tell Madame. When I left my room, the water was on my deck, coming along the corridor. We were 20 feet above the water level, so we had already sunk 20 feet. But of course, I did not realize this till afterwards. Everybody I passed assured me I was safe, but to my terrible surprise, I found all the people running up and down the stairs. When I reached Madame's room, she was already out of bed and put 2 dressing gowns on for warmth. Sir Cosmo was dressing. The next minute, a man came along and said, "Captain's orders, for all to put life preservers on." And the next instant, they were putting one on Madame and I felt myself go like marble. But Madame and I prayed together for God to look after us and keep us safe, if it was His will. Sir Cosmo then took us up on top deck. Crowds were up there and they were already lowering the lifeboats filled with women and children. I looked over the side of the boat and tried to penetrate the blackness and noticed that the water was not such a long distance away from us, as we had always remarked what a height it was. I said to Sir Cosmo, "I believe we are sinking." He said, "Nonsense, come away." We then walked more to the bow of the boat, near the bridge. Several lifeboats had been lowered. They were preparing the last two on that side of the ship, the starboard side. They cried out, "Any more women?" Saw us and came to try and drag Madame and I away from Sir Cosmo, but Madame clung to Sir Cosmo and begged him not to let them take her or separate her. She said, "I will go down with you," and I clung to Madame. I would not leave them. It would have been too awful to have been alone. After all the lifeboats had gone, everybody seemed to rush to the other side of the boat and leave ours vacant. But we still stood there. As Sir Cosmo said, we must wait for orders. Presently, an officer started to swing off a little boat called the emergency boat, quite an ordinary little rowing boat, and started to man it. He saw us and ordered us in. They were then firing the rockets beside us. We had to be nearly thrown up into this boat. 2 other American gentlemen jumped in, and 7 stokers. They started to lower us. We had not gone a few yards when our little boat got caught up by a wire rope on my side. And in a few minutes, we should all have been hurled into the sea, had it not been for that brave officer still up on deck. He shouted, "Cut it with a knife," but nobody had one and we were all in black darkness, hanging in midair. He shouted, "Mind your heads," and threw a piece of heavy iron which shook our boat and so set it free. We then went rapidly down to the water. The dear officer gave orders to row away from the sinking boat at least 200 yards. He afterwards, poor dear, brave fellow, shot himself. We saw the whole thing, and watched that tremendous thing quickly sink. There was then terrible, terrible explosions, and all darkness. Then followed the awful cries and screams of the 1,600 dear souls, fighting for their lives in the water. Oh, never shall I forget that awful night, floating about the ocean in this little boat, freezing cold, and listening to this terrible suffering. We all prayed all night long that help may come to us all, and how I thought of all my darlings, and all those dear to me. I knew you were all safe and none of you knew what we were going through. It is marvelous how brave one can be, when facing the greatest danger. God gives us strength to bear these things. We floated about all that long night, were terribly cold, and the men rowing got so cold they began to drop oars and lay at bottom of the boat. I sat on one man's feet, to try and make them a little warm, and tried to rub another one's hands. But I was so cold myself, I had not much power to rub. Oh, at daybreak, when we saw the lights of that ship, about 4 miles away, we rowed like mad and passed icebergs like mountains. At last, about 6:30, the dear Carpathia picked us up. Our little boat was like a speck against that giant. Then came my weakest moment. They lowered a rope swing, which was awkward to sit on, with my life preserver around me. Then they hauled me up by the side of the boat. Can you imagine, swinging in the air over the sea? I just shut my eyes and hung tight saying, "Am I safe?" At last, I felt a strong arm pulling me onto the boat. I was so chattering I could say nothing. They gave Madame and I lots of hot brandy. I cannot go on. It was all too terrible. The scenes and sadness we lived in for the next 4 days and nights on the darling Carpathia. Oh, but they were so kind to us. Everybody lent us everything, and their beds. But of course, all had to sleep on tables, floors, or anywhere.
Anna Sofia Nysten, writing to her parents.
I am now with my sister Clara, who is married. They have it so nice and good. Their son, who is married, lives in a big house nearby. He met us at the train and drove us up here. They are so kind to me, so you must not think that I suffer, although I happened to have a difficult voyage. I can hardly describe how it happened. There was terrible screaming and groaning, but you and I ought to thank God that I am alive. I managed to get into a lifeboat because I don't think it was my time to die. I'm supposed to experience more of the world. You have probably read in the newspapers about what happened, but I can tell you a little. The boat hit an iceberg at about 12 o'clock between Sunday and Monday. I can hardly describe how it happened. There was terrible screaming and groaning, but you and I ought to thank God that I am alive. I managed to get into a lifeboat. There was a terrible jolt, so we nearly fell out of bed, but then they said that it was serious. So the passengers calmed down until the ship began to sink, and the deck was full of people. You can imagine how it looked. I can hardly describe it. Oh, how horrible it was when everything went dark. When the ship went down, we were not far away, and we were almost sucked under. We heard awful rumbling and noise when the boat sank. We sat in the lifeboat from 1:30 until 6:30 in the morning, but fortunately the sea was calm. You can imagine how happy we were to see the steamer Carpathia close in on us, and we could come aboard. They were so good to us. We received blankets and coffee and brandy as much as we wanted. But there was still much groaning and crying because most of us had lost a dear relative. It was hardest for those who had lost family members. Many became hysterical. Now, however, I am at my destination and feel quite well. I hope that you have not worried too much about me because I'm all right. All who were with me after the disaster received everything they needed. I received a nice coat and undergarments. I had my money on me, and just think how amazing, I had my food basket with me. No one except me had anything in them.